These two YouTubers, Onision and Kai, have been called out for being predatory and grooming one of their fans. It is a complicated story, so I want to quickly summarize how it all began because all of this context, I promise you, is very important. Sarah was a fan of Onision and Kai since Sarah was around 12 years old, so when she received a private message from Kai at 14 years old, she was ecstatic. Despite the 6-year difference that Kai acknowledged in their first ever exchange, Kai decided to befriend young Sarah and eventually make jokes about grooming Sarah. And of course, it could be argued that a 20-year-old internet celebrity befriending a 14-year-old fan may not inherently be a bad thing. However, when you're doing that and joking about grooming this young person, that's when it turns questionable. There were actually a lot of bizarre tweets between Kai and Sarah, including one which encouraged people over the age of 18 to hit up Sarah when Sarah was still just 14 years old.
Many of the jokes we made were in reference to people thinking that something was going on.
Throughout their friendship, Kai learned that Sarah had a tough situation at home, so shortly after Sarah turned 16, Kai invited Sarah to live with Kai and Onision.
Yes, I am legally Sarah's guardian right now, currently. Greg is not a legal guardian of Sarah, I am.
This raised a lot of eyebrows, and not just because of the tweets or the age differences with Onision being 31, Kai being 22, and Sarah being 16, but also due to Onision's history with young girls.
There's a 16-year-old living with you, weren't you dating a 17-year-old like 5 years ago? Yeah, but that's kind of like saying just because you're a chick who's into other chicks, you're gonna want to bang every single chick. So one, that's creepy, not into that person.
Onision would insist that he was not interested in Sarah and pointed out that it would be creepy if he was because of the 15-year age gap between him and Sarah.
Like I'm twice their age at this point. 7 years, 8 years, 9-year age gap, fine. 15-year age gap, you're about to be able to start calling them daddy for real, so no.
That video was posted in January of 2017, which was just after Onision and Kai had flown over two other YouTubers, Billie and Ayala. As time went on, Kai would continue to play into the accusation of being inappropriate with Sarah through videos.
Good night.
The strange ongoing joke of Kai having a secret relationship with Sarah finally hit a full stop when Ayala accused Kai and Onision of grooming Sarah. It kind of made some of those jokes in Kai's videos feel a little bit too real.
It's just nice to like connect with people, you know, like that's the best thing about technology. You can just connect with people from the comfort of your own bed, like nothing better than that.
Onision and Kai would both go on to repeatedly deny this accusation of grooming.
Literally the youngest person I know is Sarah, and I have never, ever had a romantic relationship with Sarah.
You guys have this concept of grooming, right? But that requires you have sex with somebody right after they turn 18.
Now, to be fair, that video was posted 2 days before Sarah said that they all slept together for the first time, so technically he wasn't lying about that part. But have a listen to how he proactively tries to deny the accusation by basically contradicting his own definition of grooming.
And the person you guys are talking about has been 18 for a while.
At this point in time, Sarah was actually 18 and 5 months, but you know, Onision likes to round up to 18 and a half, and apparently that's a while, and that's not right after she turned 18. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, okay? I apologize if I'm asserting my opinion too much, but I feel like sleeping with someone 5 months after they turn 18 is basically right after they turn 18.
I'm not going to talk about that person that people are talking about, who we still haven't done anything with, and they're an adult.
Onision just spelled it out. He was planning on sleeping with Sarah, and Sarah right now at this point in time was 18 and 5 months old. And you can't just tell me that he just thought of it right now at this point in time. You know, he's like, oh, what a good idea. I should sleep with her. Now, he must have been brewing it up in his mind a lot longer than that, which is creepy and would still constitute under your own definition of grooming, sir. Because that's part of the definition of grooming, when you're building someone up to get what you want. Ugh.
You know, and I cannot say this enough. If I sleep with Gerard Way, I will not make it your business because it's not your business.
Onision is a horrible villain in movies that thinks he's so clever, giving out his secret master plan right before he gets called out for it. Because like I said, Sarah went on to say what happened, and Onision corroborated it himself.
On top of that, I'm pretty sure the age gap at this point would be illegal. So one, that's creepy, not into that person. And two, the age gap is insane.
The FBI, like the Federal Bureau of Investigation, is going to be so interested in someone who slept with an 18-and-a-half-year-old. Sure.
And that's my summary of the whole grooming accusation, which I try to make it as digestible as possible for someone that's new to it, because I try to explain it to my mom and that was so difficult I don't even know where to start. So I wanted to make it in a way that someone that's familiar with it can be like, refresh memory, and someone that's not familiar with it can fully understand. Now, in a bizarre attempt to defend himself against Sarah's grooming accusation, Onision thought that it would be a good idea to tell his YouTube channel throughout multiple videos about how she was sexually assaulted. Needless to say, people did not react positively, but Onision did not care. In fact, he went on to make more videos explaining why he thought that was justifiable. And that's what we're going to be going over in this video. And we're also going to be talking about why Onision is actually scared. If you finish your coffee, grab some whiskey because it's about to get heavy.
Two people argued over who was going to take someone's virginity. That is... I don't think retarded is a good enough word for that. Who argues over taking someone's virginity?
You! Kai said to Onision, I'm saying I don't want to be best friends with her, nor do I want to be in a relationship with her because she has hurt me and lied to me multiple times. Onision then said to Kai, you are a cold person and you took her heart and stomped in it because she was scared the person she lost her virginity to did not care about her. And she was right, because you are exactly that, a cold, heartless person who used her best friend and left her for dead. Again, this is Onision texting Kai. Then Kai responds, thought we agreed that using virginity as a pawn was wrong, but now that it suits you, you want to resort to that. Onision says, it's a big deal, and she lost it to you, not me. Virginity does matter. Then Kai says, so does 7 years of a relationship, but we're forgetting about that. And no, you did threaten our relationship. So I just ignore you taking a girl's virginity, then treating her like she is dead to you because she got jealous, then doubling down on her. Oh my god, what is he Onision and Kai were having an argument about who screwed Sarah first, and Kai sent Sarah the receipts of this to make Sarah feel bad because in Kai's mind, this fight is Sarah's fault.
No one's gonna do that. Unless you're talking about past tense. In which case, it's a totally different message, like, I didn't take her virginity, you took her virginity. You know, which in reality no one did. The person who did it was the person who...
Fuck! I can't!
Sarah...
I can't! Holy shit, what the f is wrong? What is wrong with him? What is wrong with him?
And she didn't go to the police about it, I guess. Instead, she decided to go on live streams about people who did nothing wrong.
Hey, asshole, you're the one saying that Sarah raped Kai. Why don't you go to the f***ing police? What the f*** is wrong with you? He makes no sense. He is outing somebody else's sexual assault, and he's humiliating Sarah for not going to the police, when at the same time he's saying that Kai was raped. So why didn't he go to the police, huh? Because you're full of shit, dude. You're so full of shit.
But no, nobody's fighting over someone's argued over, fighting over. Yeah, it's all about context there. But that's the answer to that question. And Kai did nothing. Kai just laid there and received people and
So, okay, that means that if Kai just sat there and received it, then not only did Sarah rape her, then you raped her too. Where the f is your... I don't know how we're supposed to go through this. This is really suffering.
For the most part, just was not... It's really bad for Kai. So everybody should think about Kai in an understanding and generous way, and not a, oh, Kai likes CP. Like, that's crazy. That's like the grossest thing. Kids are disgusting. You guys realize that, right? Like, there's nothing attractive about kids. Come up with anything attractive about a kid. Go ahead. Tell me something that you think is attractive about a kid. Their snot? No. The My Little Pony obsession? No. Their backpacks? No. Instigated and took part in a threesome with someone, and then kicked that person out all shortly after she turned 18. No. There was one person receiving oral, and there was me, who was, making full-on love to this 18-and-a-half-year-old. But it wasn't. They weren't kicked shortly out. It wasn't kicking out shortly after. They were kicked out when they said that I needed to impregnate them, essentially, when we were mano a mano. And the whole point of us being mano a mano was so we could actually eventually all come together and be a poly relationship. And I realized that she didn't care about the other person. And the whole point was to care about that other person.
Look, I'm no body language expert, but that swallow was the most genuine thing he did in this entire video so far. You guys notice that? that showed a bit of nervous because he realized that that's actually being truthful. That's the one truthful thing he said so far. And now catch what he said.
And the whole point
This
of
is
us being
talking about
mono was so
Sarah.
we could actually like eventually all come together and be a poly relationship. And then I realized that she didn't care about the other person. And the whole point was to care about that other person. And
She's like, oh, this makes me nervous to talk out loud. He just admitted to wanting a polyamorous relationship with Sarah and Kai. Oh yeah, but keep telling us about how it was all Sarah wanting your huh? Bro, make it make sense. Make it make sense. I want to take a moment to fill in some spaces to Onision's storytelling with Sarah's perspective and context.
For the whole relationship part, at least the second time around when I was about to be 18,
Right.
he was like the puppet master. He was being like, oh, you guys should do this. Oh, you guys should kiss.
Sarah said that Onision had been puppeteering the intimate acts between Kai and Sarah, as well as Onision, Sarah, and Kai. Now, Sarah's not the first person to say this. Billie said the same thing.
It was like the first day Greg was already trying to get me and Kai to like kiss, even though like we, didn't know each other that much yet. And we both, it was Kai's first time like kissing a girl. So like he was really nervous.
Onision is known to have a very controlling, abrasive, and manipulative personality, and this is something that can be observed from just watching his videos, but it's also been corroborated by literally all of his ex-girlfriends, some of his former friends, and even he has admitted on several occasions that he's manipulative.
I'm so much less manipulative than you.
that's true.
I did publicly threaten to kill myself. I have no defense for that because publicly threatening to kill yourself is really stupid, especially since that was a manipulative tactic and I had no actual intention of killing myself.
She clearly indicated she did not want me cuddling with this person, yet I manipulated my way into cuddling with her anyway. Problem is, whether conscious or not, I clearly was manipulating her.
He's also been known to pursue several girls into becoming the third partner under the guise that they'd only be dating Kai.
And I even encouraged her to get a girlfriend. My stated reason being, I work a lot, and there are things that a woman can give to another woman that a man cannot give to a woman.
I don't want somebody I'm with to feel like they don't have enough of something that they need.
Would you have been intimate with Greg if it had not been for that infatuation with Kai?
No.
I have a husband, he wouldn't be involved in our relationship, if we have one.
When he temporarily achieved that three-way relationship with Billie, he wanted her to agree to a contract.
I said, hey, beautiful people, here's our contract. We all agree to. 1, always be honest.
That entire relationship was a horrible spectacle, but his desire, his thirst for having a third girl in his relationship with Kai was not over yet. He began pursuing Sarah, and in order to keep her quiet, to kind of skip over that whole spectacle once again from happening online, he got Sarah to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And have a look at the text message in which he first proposes the idea of the NDA to Sarah. He presented the NDA under the premise that he would respect her privacy and not talk about her in videos. Now, to an average person, this might just sound like common sense, like common human decency, but apparently with Onision, you need to sign some sort of agreement in order for him not to monetize all your secrets on his YouTube channel.
When I break up with someone, I just like spilling the beans. And if someone were to get into a relationship with me and act like that wasn't gonna happen, well, you clearly have not been paying attention to the last 9 years of my life.
And peep that text message right before the NDA one. It says, this kind of feels like the last big challenge before all our lives become what we want it to be / everyone is happy. I'm sorry for being so rude to you all these years. I hope you understand why I always distanced myself from you. I'm so glad I finally feel comfortable being real with you and ending the rudeness, but I am sorry. Bro, if this does not sound like a confession to you as to him basically saying, yo, I had to be rude to you, I couldn't make you think that I liked you because you were underage, then I don't know I don't know what else to tell you, but that is disgusting. Of course, the contracts and non-disclosure agreements that he writes up are all made by him and not notarized, so they're not actually valid at all. It's pretty much just another intimidation tactic to control someone into not doing what he doesn't want them to do. Now, from my previous video and in this one, we've heard quite a few versions of the way that Onision describes the intimate experience between him, Sarah, and Kai. One of the versions of the story that Onision left out was the one that he sent to Sarah when Sarah started speaking up. When Sarah first started speaking up, Onision sent Sarah quite a few texts, but amongst one of those was a retelling of that intimate experience. I don't know if it was a way to kind of be like, hey, come back and we can have this again, but this is how it reads. I just want to point something out. This is stupid. I loved making love to both of you. I loved seeing you satisfy Kai. I loved making out with you while effing Kai. I loved you being around when you guys weren't fighting. Personally, I'd love to do countless things with both of you. And it cuts off right there because that's all that Sarah shared on Twitter. I'd say she's doing us all a favor. Some of the texts that he had been sending before that one read a little bit differently. Onision said to Sarah, I want you to know I have never seen Kai hurt this much. The damage you did, I can't believe you would hurt Kai and the kids like this. What you did hurt everyone in the house. I can't believe you are only doing this because I refused to make out with you while in the theater and refused to sleep with you. You're hurting Kai and the kids you said you cared about because we rejected you? How could you do this? Accept that we did not want to be with you and move on. Stop hurting innocent people. So again, I want to emphasize that the text message that I just read came right before the text message in which he was reminiscing on how he loved making love to both Kai and Sarah. Dude. It's almost like he was just desperate, trying everything, you know? Maybe I'll make her feel guilty. Maybe she'll stop talking. Or maybe I'll remind her of how good we had it in bed. Then, of course, there's Sarah's version of the story, which she briefly shared on the Chris Hansen show.
And then we were watching a movie again one night, and, like, I look over, and I see Greg and Kai, like, making out, which they'd done in the past, like, made out with me on the bed, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever. They're like, I'm gonna watch the movie. And then I looked back, and they were, like, actively having sex. So I just decided to, like, mind my own business and not say anything, just, like, keep my eyes on the movie. And then Greg kind of pulled me in and told me to start doing stuff with them.
In a video uploaded after my live stream, Onision explained why he felt the need to out Sarah's sexual assault in graphic detail multiple times, and this is the first reason.
People are mad because I shared the horrible things that Sarah's gone through, but the reason I shared that is, first of all, she's literally laughed at the idea of our house burning to the ground.
Onision, the doofus that called Sarah and the other women vindictive for speaking up is the same doofus that's out here saying the reason why he outed Sarah's sexual assault was to get back at her. He was so mad about some tweets from Sarah that he felt the need to go into graphic detail about what she told him in confidence.
She literally tweeted that it was so funny if our house burned down.
It was a pure act of revenge. And you want to see the literal tweets that Onision is referring to? Because unlike him, I actually went out of my way to look at these allegations that he's talking about. So as you can see, Sarah's tweet is a reply quoting what another user had said as part of a conversation that she was tagged in. She added a GIF, yes it's GIF not GIF, to indicate that she found the quote from the person she replied to funny. She's not literally laughing at the idea of Onision's house burning down. Is Onision desperate, illiterate, or both? Because Onision literally cited this as an example of Sarah being threatening towards him multiple times throughout his videos. It's called a metaphor, unless Sarah did actually burn your house down. Did that happen? And let's not forget, the doofus also claims to not have seen any of the tweets, so he must feel real dumb right now. I'm kidding. I know he doesn't have any feelings. Metaphorically speaking, Sarah standing up for herself did kind of burn your house down because you sound like you're screaming on fire, panicking, not knowing what the hell to do. And to take that tweet as a literal threat just goes to show how afraid of the truth Onision is. We'll get more into this later too. The context of the conversation was someone saying that they did not believe Kai would be a predator had they not met Onision, and the person replied saying she agreed to an extent, adding that she didn't believe Kai was faultless because Shiloh left, Billie left, Sarah burnt their house down and left, and Kai had a choice when Billie left, go back to Greg or no. Because after Onision, formerly known as Greg, cheated on Kai, Kai declared that they were broken up publicly. That is until they got back together and they would be attending, obviously successful, marriage counseling. Why am I getting deja vu saying that out loud? Oh, that's right, because Onision said that Kai was gonna leave him until luckily Kai changed his mind.
Now Kai hasn't left me, instead Kai settled for me going to therapy.
Well, thank goodness Onision agreed to go into therapy. If anything, maybe it's too bad that Kai won't get to go because now the therapist will only hear everything from Onision's side of the story. Maybe I'm just being too cynical. I'm sure Onision will be fixed up just after a couple 1 hour long sessions.
And after the second time of going to marriage counseling, we kind of realized that this lady wasn't going to help us because I feel like we felt like we could accomplish more just talking to each other. So our marriage is better than ever.
Yeah, but not due to marriage counseling.
She literally tweeted that it was so funny if our house burned to the ground. She's literally posted, like she said, if she ever saw me again, that she implied that she'd physically assault me.
Onision also calls out Sarah for saying that if she ever saw him again, that she implied that she would physically assault him. Ooh, spicy. Now let's look at the tweet that he's referring to, shall we? Throat punch your local pet. Well, that's concerning that you feel targeted for that.
So you have a person who's obviously very vindictive, obviously very malicious.
This doofus needs to look in the mirror. Straight up. It seems like he's using words to describe himself and using them for other people. That's not right.
I'm just a really problematic person. I mean, that, and a lot of times I just want to see the other person feel bad for what they did to me.
A strong indicator that Onision is so afraid of the truth is the way that he's willing to take these tweets that he claims he's never seen, yet somehow he's willing to take them so far out of context and inexplicably just use them as an excuse to share a story that Sarah told him in confidence in an attempt to humiliate her to hundreds of thousands of people online.
So there's a very hateful thing there where she actually went on sadistic rants on Twitter about how much she wants to hurt me or how much she wants to see my life crumble and all this stuff.
Hey Onision, why don't you show me these sadistic Twitter rants that you seem to know so much about while also claiming to have never seen them before? What's that? You can't show them to me because they don't exist? That's what I thought.
And all this stuff, which to me, having seen actual victims in real life.
Having seen actual victims in real life? How many victims of grooming have you seen or talked to?
Actual victims typically feel very bad about saying stuff because they feel like they're going to be blamed for it. They feel very nervous. They don't want to relive it.
Hopefully they're not your victims. I mean, should we be more concerned? Are you ensuring that they don't speak up?
You don't go around saying sadistic things like, I want your house to burn.
Well, we already established that Onision has no problem embellishing tweets into something that they're not to further victimize himself. But what was that? He just upgraded Sarah's tweet to, I want your house to burn? How fragile must you be to sound so pathetic?
And you don't go around saying sadistic things like, I want to physically assault you and stuff like that. That's just psychotic BPD bullshit.
So I looked through every single one of Sarah's tweets and I only found 2 in total that had anything to do with physical violence. The first one being the throat punch one, which I'm still hoping that Onision's not associating himself with that. But the other one says, given the legal opportunity, I would bust kneecaps. Now, I guess if Mr. Onision wants to fill his name in that one, okay. But that's still not Sarah saying, I want to physically assault you, Onision. That's not it at all. If you want to fill your name in that tweet, then okay. It's just Sarah saying that if she was legally allowed to, she would bust your kneecaps. Just like you were legally allowed to put your peen in her bum like you kept saying in the other videos. What's the big deal if it's legal, right? Isn't that your motto?
Yeah, so people are like, now that I've spoken about this, people want me shut down.
And Onision using Sarah's tweets, or anybody else's tweets for that matter, as a way to make himself look better, or teach a lesson, I guess, is really rich considering how he's told people to kill themselves throughout the years of him being online.
You shouldn't take the tweets literally, Edwin.
What's that?
Don't take the tweets literally.
Oh, we shouldn't take your tweets literally, but it's okay when you do that to Sarah and actually embellish them completely and turn them into something that they're not. Alright, cool. I see how it is.
It's just jokes.
They say, oh, I'm just joking, when you know it's real.
And we weren't flirting, we were joking.
There are infinite jokes you could tell.
But in regards to Sarah having previously been violated by someone that she described as a black man, who actually, in fact, took her virginity, according to her.
He also said that it was important to share Sarah's rape story because it proved that him and Kai didn't actually take her virginity.
I told you guys that story because it was directly conflicting with a text that I allegedly sent.
A big reason why I want to do these videos where I have commentary of my own in between Onision's videos is because so much of his videos are filled with word salad, you know? You'll notice that he has absolutely no actual logic or relevance to what he was originally talking about, because I want to remind you, he's talking about the reasons why he felt it was necessary to out Sarah's sexual assault. And so far, it was because of embellished tweets, and now he's saying it was because of a text he allegedly sent.
Because it was directly conflicting with a text that I allegedly sent that was talking about somebody else taking Sarah's virginity.
If you saw my other video, or even if you're just familiar with Onision as a person, you're probably aware that he's always got a finger to point at somebody else. You know, it's never his fault. He's a perpetual victim. Even in this instance in which he's referring to a text conversation between himself and Kai, he's saying somebody else taking Sarah's virginity. So he's putting it all on Kai without even saying Kai's name. So it's kind of clever, kind of subtle, you know, being blameless, but also not quite blaming Kai, but subtly blaming Kai without saying Kai's name, you know? Yeah, it was about Kai taking Sarah's virginity. No. The text conversation was about you both arguing over who took Sarah's virginity. You can't pretend to know which alleged text you're talking about and then play dumb. I mean, I guess you can. You just did.
Sarah's virginity. So that text that I sent was delusional.
Wait a second and just hold the phone right now, because 2 seconds ago you said it was an alleged text, and now you're confirming that it was a real text that you sent, and you were delusional in it. He doesn't realize how stupid he sounds, because he's like, I allegedly did that, and I did do that, and I was delusional. And how convenient that when something he has said in the past doesn't align with his current narrative, he can just dismiss it by saying, well, I was delusional. Homeboy sounds delusional now. Maybe he'll call himself out for being delusional in 5 months. I mean, that's kind of the trend with him, huh? That is, as long as it fits his narrative in 5 months, of course. He just goes with whatever argument will win over a new audience, preferably a young audience too.
I said allegedly a moment ago, but if it's the text I'm thinking about, it might not be that text.
Let's get back on track because, again, the word salad is meant to confuse you about what the original topic was about, which is him outing Sarah's sexual assault. Let's not forget. So now he's saying that he thinks the reason was because of a text. It could have been something else. Wow.
But it might not be that text.
Never trust Onision with any of your secrets. Maybe it's too late for Kai. Maybe that's why Kai is still sticking around.
I tell people exactly what goes on in my relationships, particularly when they're over. Watch out, we have a blabbermouth here.
But if it's the text I'm thinking about, talking about virginity, that was me trying to shame somebody for rejecting Sarah.
Hearing him elaborate on this only makes him sound even more dense.
And that was wrong, that was manipulative, and that was horrible.
So he's calling himself delusional, horrible, and manipulative when it comes to shaming Kai. Very convenient. It goes with his narrative, Yeah, I was stupid. Of course I was dumb to say that. I was in my right mind. But when it comes to outing someone's private assault experience, no problem. Doesn't bat an eye. And even when he's talking about like him being horrible towards Kai, he has no emotion on his face. It's kind of scary.
So that's why I keep saying that out of everyone, Kai is innocent, and I'm a little bit evil, and Sarah's quite a bit evil, maybe the same. I don't know what levels of evil there are, but it's clearly corrupt as hell on our end.
You really gotta be heartless to share somebody else's rape story without their consent to over 1 million subscribers. Now, of course, not all of his subscribers are gonna watch his videos because nobody cares about him like they used to, but the fact that he mentioned the rape story throughout over a dozen videos only tells me that he wanted to make sure that as many people as possible would know. All this to prove a point that she wasn't a virgin, ultimately shaming her for not considering her rape her first time.
So Sarah didn't tell this story about this other person because she probably actually was a victim. That's how victims behave. This described black man.
So you're trying to convince people that she's lying about you because why would she want to relive it? And she's probably telling the truth about her rape because she didn't tell the police because she didn't want to relive it. Really? I mean, does this logic make sense to anybody?
Described black man. That's all the description she gave me. And you didn't hear anything about it. And the reason you didn't hear anything about it is because it probably actually happened.
Your equation is broken because what happened to Sarah from you is completely different than what happened to Sarah from this black guy, as you so like to emphasize throughout your videos for some reason. And to even make the implication that victims of just about anything are generally liars because why would they want to relive it is astoundingly stupid on so many levels.
And she didn't go to the police because she probably didn't want to relive it. She probably didn't want to re-experience that thing by telling her story.
I wonder if Onision thinks he sounds smart if he talks all monotone and slow like this, because let me tell you something, it ain't working on me. Your logic is completely flawed and you need to get your brain checked, hijo.
But that's the problem here, because you have somebody who didn't go through a crime with myself or Kai and actually did go through a crime with someone else, and instead she's taking maybe all the stuff that she went through with this other person out on us, not realizing that it's a coping mechanism or maybe something to do with her own medication and all that she's taking.
Let me translate what he just said, because the way he speaks with his words jumbled all over the place and absolutely no emotion in his face or voice makes it a little bit hard to follow. Even though Sarah has screenshots backing up many points of her story, she's got friends that she spoke to while she was at the Predator's house, she's got literal eyewitnesses that were at the Predator's house that also back her up, and even some of Onision's storytelling throughout these videos also corroborate some of the things that Sarah has said. We should just throw all that out because Sarah was assaulted a couple years ago, and it maybe, I don't know, maybe according to Onision, he also says maybe she could just be a coping mechanism, or it could be a side effect of the medication that she's not taking because she doesn't have this BPD thing that he's trying to force on her. Imagine going out of your way to say that someone has borderline personality disorder just because you want to make them look bad. The thing about Onision's maybe theories is that they're just theories. And they're theories that he can't even stand behind because he keeps saying maybe. So he's not even sure about him, you know? He's presenting some half-ass word salad, and quite frankly, I'm not hungry for lettuce, man. At least put some meat into it. Bring some evidence. Bring some screenshots, like your girl Sarah did. Sarah brought screenshots that back up many of her claims, and she has literal corroborating witnesses that were at your house that saw a lot of the shady things and that Sarah confessed things to before Sarah even came out about anything.
Yeah, so people are like, now that I've spoken about this, people want me shut down. They don't want me talking anymore. They don't want me to continue telling my side of the story.
Come on. Philip DeFranco reached out to you. You said, I won't do it unless you give me this amount of money. Chris Hansen offered you a platform. You said, not unless you give me money. I offered you my platform. I offered you my interview. You ignored it, and I even sent you an email, and you wanted me to pay money to get a response. You wanted me to become an Onision fan. That dude. Colt. And even more recently, Keemstar offered you an interview and you blocked him. I honestly can't believe it took you over 30 videos to tell your side of the story, to be honest. But nobody ever stopped you before and nobody's stopping you now. Keep going if you want.
I'd say there's like a 98% perfection rate to what I'm telling you. There's probably errors here and there, but 98% I'd say is pretty accurate.
And just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, he uploaded another video in which he talked about his own stupid without acknowledging his own stupid.
Think about it this way. Sarah went through a horrible crime with some guy. She described the guy as skin color, yada yada. But she went through this horrible thing. Do you think that if I said, I'm gonna go make a video about what you went through, she would say, if you go tell people what I went through, I will stop being your friend?
Or maybe he doesn't care to realize that what he's doing is flat out evil because YouTube just lets him get away with it. What's up with that, by the way? All these videos harassing these girls and YouTube just lets it happen? I mean, I reported some of the videos. I can't be the only one, right? What the hell, YouTube? Of course she wouldn't want to be your friend if you entertain the idea of telling your entire YouTube audience what she went through. It's even worse that you actually executed the idea because it's not your story to tell.
If you go tell people what I went through, I will stop being your friend. Do you think she would say that? I do. Because that's what victims do, right? They don't want people talking about what they went through. That's what Kai did to me. Kai said, if I talk about it, then Kai would leave me. Now Kai hasn't left me. Instead, Kai settled for me going to therapy.
Now, are you saying that Kai didn't want you to talk about what Sarah went through? Or are you saying that Kai didn't want you to talk about how you pressured him to have intercourse with both you and Sarah? Which one is it? I guess it doesn't matter now that you're forgiven because you agreed to go to therapy for the third time, is it?
So I want you to imagine being Kai and being pressured into all this even though you don't really want to.
He just asked us to imagine being Kai in a situation in which Kai is being pressured by Onision into doing something that Kai didn't want to do. That's gross.
And being pressured into all this even though you don't really want to take part, and being called a cruel person for not wanting to take part because I am an asshole.
So according to Onision, he pressured Kai into a three-way that Kai did not want to be a part of and later was rude to Kai about it.
My wife was often doubtful. She showed a lot of insecurity and used that insecurity to make accusations about the third person.
Sarah vaguely spoke about this occurrence on Chris Hansen's show, and this is how she perceived the situation.
To be honest, I feel like Kai and I were both pressured into it the first time.
So according to Onision and Sarah, Kai did not want to be a part of the situation and Kai felt pressured. So we have three people in the situation: Kai, Onision, and Sarah. Now both Sarah and Onision have said that Onision pressured Kai. Sarah said that she also felt pressured and uncomfortable about the whole situation.
I'm not really a person that has trouble getting sleep at night, but I just I couldn't sleep. I just stayed awake. Which
Onision disagrees with because somehow he felt raped. I would love to hear what Kai has to say about all this, because one thing's for sure, Onision pressured Kai. And that pressure sounds like the rape, and it sounds like he's projecting that R word onto Sarah. Or maybe there was never any R word and Onision's just trying to sensationalize everything to try to victimize and make Sarah look bad. Isn't it interesting how when Sarah was in his life, he would lash out at Kai, but now that Sarah's not in his life, he's lashing out at Sarah?
It's my whole strong 100% belief that Sarah is lying.
But what is Sarah lying about exactly? Because you've said that you haven't seen anything that Sarah has said so far.
No, all the time. If I didn't want to do something that he wanted me to do, he would accuse me of lying or, tell me to be an adult.
Guys, I'm happy to inform you that this video is finally going to take a comedic route. Because you know how I told you that I know that Onision is scared? Well, here's the cherry on top on how I know.
Because I know Sarah probably maybe is capable of telling the truth. And what she's allegedly doing, I haven't confirmed it. I was just told that she's getting a lawyer.
Onision apparently didn't get the reaction he was hoping for from Sarah.
But Sarah, if you have a strong case, Present it.
I know Onision allegedly won't watch this video, and maybe some people didn't see Sarah's tweet or didn't take it seriously, but I can confirm to you that she is speaking to some lawyers. And now, how far is she gonna take it? When are things gonna happen? Well, wouldn't you like to know, Onision? And that's what's scaring him. He doesn't know. That fear in the back of your mind, that's the fear of not knowing when your time is up.
Just literally make a all-out video describing your situation. No bad acting this time.
But wouldn't you like that? When Sarah went on the Chris Hansen show, she said that when she first spoke up about Onision, he sent her text upon text upon text.
Greg sent me like 15 messages, I think, probably, when this all started, like one right after the other, like paragraphs.
Him making these dozens of videos is practically the equivalent of that. Now, if she didn't reply to your 15 messages back in September, do you think she's gonna reply to you now?
I have responded to none of them, and I never will.
And I wish that Sarah would just say, you know what? I'm fed up with this. Instead of spending tens of thousands of dollars on a lawyer.
So Onision is trying to intimidate Sarah with his huge dollar figure that I honestly think he pulled out of the lint from his behind, because he knows damn well that Sarah works nearly every day. She's got her own apartment and a cat to take care of. But what he's really saying is, oh come on, Sarah, we don't have to take this to court. Just make a YouTube video. And Onision, stop pretending that you care about how much Sarah might spend on a lawyer. I've already said that I'm gonna donate revenue from these videos on this topic to Sarah's legal fees. And of course, that very well might not be enough, but I have a slight feeling that if it comes down to a dollar figure that she cannot afford, I feel like the internet might just hold hands and help a sister out. It's just a feeling though.
Tens of thousands of dollars on a lawyer to realize in court that we have hordes of documentation.
More intimidation tactics from Onision, implying that he would win in court because he's got hordes of documentation that, you know, of course, he's not going to show us any of it throughout these 37 videos. And just wait for us. I told you it's going to turn comedic, okay? This is the reason why.
It would be lovely to share that documentation with you guys if you wouldn't try to delete my entire channels or my entire Patreon or my YouNow is gone because I posted a text.
Oh man, no. I told you this was gonna be good. It gets me every time. He really expects us to believe that he's so afraid to show us even a shred of evidence supporting his side because he exposed Billy's phone number on Twitter. I mean, let's say it how it is. Your Patreon got deleted because you maliciously shared Billy's phone number to your 290,000 followers on Twitter.
I posted a text that was really positive and I forgot to crop out one part of it.
Yeah, you forgot to crop out one part of it that included her phone number. Notice how he acts dumb, he plays dumb, he doesn't say it how it is. You know, he can tell himself, he can go to sleep repeating that he's the most honest YouTuber, but he's not gonna tell how it is. He can be honest, but he can also like omit lots of important details.
I'm the most brutally honest, popular YouTuber.
If you didn't catch all of this as it occurred, during the time that Onision stayed silent, Onision was actually sharing text conversations between him and his exes for some reason. One of those conversations being between him and Billy when they were still on okay terms. Needless to say, they're no longer on okay terms, and Billy has actively been speaking up against them and talking about the abuse that she endured at his hand for years. And this is not the first time that Onision has shared private information about Billy either, which led a lot of people to believe that this was no accident.
The fact that you put such private information online for everyone to see that was so confidential. I have told 5 people. 5! And you told all of the internet?
So you want to hide in the darkness? You want me to hide your secrets? Then don't date us. I'm an open book. The fact that I'm extremely brutally honest about the relationships I've been in was all over YouTube. And yet you ignored that and then of course act like the victim as if you didn't know what you were getting into.
Regardless of whether Onision leaking Billy's phone number was intentional or not, I 100% believe that it was malicious and psychologically taunting her. And especially when you consider the context of the conversation, which read that he would be willing to support her if she ended up getting pregnant with his baby. Because even if the screenshot didn't have the phone number, that in itself is very private information that it's malicious for sure. She's actively speaking up against you. She has called you out on your abuse towards her, and you think this is okay. Come on, put yourself in the position in which somebody abused you, somebody treated you so horrible in life, and then they do this to you. Can you not have that kind of empathy?
My and Lainey's ex is such a f***ing loser, criminal, scumbag piece of shit.
And you guys got my Patreon deleted, you got my YouNow deleted, you got another social platform deleted.
See, if you don't know the context that I just gave you, it might be easy to see Onision as a victim, but I implore you to ask him, why not take accountability for any of your actions? How is it that all these websites just happen to delete you for no reason? Because what, some haters asked the websites to delete you? Why is he not being 100% clear on his actions that got him deleted from these websites? Because you guys did it? Who even are you guys that are doing all this? It's like him against the world.
I just don't care if someone shares my stuff, so I can't understand why other people are scared of their stuff being known. I mean, aside from the illegal stuff, like don't go sharing people's, phone numbers or whatever, because that's fucked up. Now they have to get a new phone number.
Like, I wish that you guys would just understand that that is why I can't do anything. You've bound my hands, because if I show anything and hear any proof, you guys could simply report it as doxing. And then I lose my stuff.
No, not really. You still have Twitter. Twitter didn't even take your check mark, so quit acting like your hands are bound because you suddenly forgot how to crop out private information. You big baby doofus. Alright, let's get back to the comedy.
If Sarah really did get a lawyer, I don't get it. Because all she would need to do is make a response video.
The homie really wants Sarah to become a YouTuber overnight. Because in his mind, his actions aren't really all that severe.
All she would need to do is say, I'm Sarah and this is what really happened.
He has no idea or consideration as to how he has affected these women, and he certainly has never had one stand up to him in the way that Sarah's doing now. Hey James, you might want to go check on your stove, cause feels like Sarah's turning up the heat. And I don't mean that literally, so in case Sarah's laughing out there at that metaphor, don't double down on your idiocy.
If she just made a response video or whatever and talked about the issue rather than running to a lawyer and trying to silence me, that would probably be better for her.
Next time you legally change your name, because I know you're probably gonna do that sometime soon, make sure to add projection onto your middle name, because that's what you're doing when you're saying that Sarah getting a lawyer is silencing you. Nuh-uh. You making over 30 videos talking about Sarah, intimidating her, sharing all these private details, all this stuff that you're doing, and literally making her sign a non-disclosure agreement, that sounds more like silencing her to me.
In the sense that you are willing to face the public and all their criticism and tell things like they are.
Sarah has already faced the public by speaking up on Twitter and on the Chris Hansen show. Onision is just upset because the public didn't scrutinize her as much as they do him. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that her story is backed up by witnesses, screenshots, and corroborations coming even from you, and you just based on your word?
This current strategy of going to a lawyer rather than just talking things out, if you are in fact innocent, you could probably just talk to the public.
And how's that working for you, James? Because you do realize that what you're asking from Sarah is for her to make a video so that way the public can play judge and jury on her the way they have done on you. It's almost like you're hoping that she slips up or says something dumb, maybe gets a detail or two wrong, so that way you can capitalize on that and rip her apart and hope that people will join you with that.
Also, I would encourage Sarah to come forward about the crime that she said she went through to me privately, involving this, what she described as a black man. That would be very empowering if she actually came forward about being an actual victim of an actual person.
I assume you believe it would be very empowering to hear Kai talk about your wrongdoings, right? Tell the whole internet about it? Are you encouraging Kai to speak up? Hopefully you're not silencing him or calling him any sort of shield.
Sarah was saying that she was actually plotting the whole time. She confessed it on a live stream. She says that she was actually keeping a little spy book, the whole time.
Spy book? Really, Onision? That's a lie and you know it. This conspiracy you're building of Sarah plotting against you the whole time is completely unfounded, and you know it too.
You know what a lot of people do when they realize they're about to get trouble? They lie.
Without even a single shred of evidence, you're now making up rumors out of thin air just to slander Sarah's name.
And instead of going after only someone because they're famous or because they're well known and...
And the conspiracy now grows bigger. Sarah is going after Onision in part because he's famous. She kept the spy book to keep tabs on him so she could one day ruin this big celebrity. Oh, please. Adding fame to the equation actually only hurts you and helps her because you are substantiating her claim that she was a fan of you and you took advantage of that.
I was an enemy of people before this came out.
Then he continues to victimize himself with the whole I was an enemy of the people before this whole thing came out. As if he was born hated. No, dude, people don't like you for a reason. Start thinking about the things you say and the hurt that you've caused people and then evaluate, whoa, okay, huh. Yeah, you know what? I'm Onision and I actually have manipulated and psychologically abused quite a few people. Huh, who'd have thunk it?
There's an evil there.
Can you say that one more time?
There's an evil there.
Alright, that makes more sense. I'm gonna give Onision some advice that actually came from his own mouth in hopes that maybe he can swallow it.
If you're trying to say someone did something, you have to know what they did, and you just seem to have like a general idea of what you think may happen.
If there are any Onision fans left that are watching this video and still fail to see Onision's double standards and veiled misogyny, then I don't know, it just might be a lost cause.
I have regularly called people that I'm with a bitch, fucking dumb. I've called people cunts. I call people lots of names. It's kind of obvious that I'm gonna use that language. I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying that's true. I am verbally abusive. I say verbally abusive things.
I know there are creators like Keemstar that bash on people that make videos on Onision, and I hesitated for a long time, but I feel like talking about at least the stuff that I'm highlighting, you know, approaching it the way that I am, I think that it's very important, and I hope that it stands out, because yeah, there are a lot of people that make videos on Onision, you know, and a lot of the content is saturated. Some people do it for the wrong reasons, but I just hope that you guys can see the importance and the effort that I put into this. This video was particularly taxing on me mentally. I had to take a lot of breaks, and I've been filming for the past 5 days, like on and off, you know. I had to put on the same shirt because it was just so hard, man. Like getting all these video clips and watching them and filming, saying this kind of thing that should be obvious, anyways, I just thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate you guys, and I know that you guys understand.
I just don't care if someone shares my stuff, so I can't understand why other people are scared of their stuff being known. But seriously, what are you going to share with the public about me? Anyone I've ever dated? What are you going to share?